Okay, so like imagine this. You could split yourself in two and create a younger, more vibrant version of yourself.
Oh, wow.
Sounds tempting, right?
It does.
Well, that's kind of the whole premise behind The Substance.
Yeah.
This body horror film that really dives into the dark side of that fantasy.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating is that we're not just talking about the finished film.
Right.
We're going deeper. We're looking at the original screenplay.
Ooh, okay.
And let me tell you, there are some really fascinating discrepancies.
Interesting.
That really shed light on the director's choices.
Okay.
And the film's deeper meaning.
I'm intrigued.
So we're talking about Coralie Fargeight's film, starring Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle.
Oh, yeah, that Demi Moore.
A Hollywood star who is just desperately clinging to her fading youth and fame.
Makes sense.
She discovers this mysterious substance that lets her do just that, split herself, essentially birthing a younger version.
Okay.
Sue,
played
by Margaret Qualley.
I love her.
Yeah, she's great, but here's the thing.
What?
The screenplay explicitly stated that Elizabeth and Sue share a single consciousness.
Whoa, hold on. So they're like linked.
They are. It's like imagine experiencing everything.
Oh my God.
Your younger self does.
Wow.
Every sensation, every thought.
Okay.
And then flip it. Your younger self is privy to your memories, your fears, your regrets.
That's intense.
It's a really mind-bending concept that adds a whole new layer to the story.
So we're talking about like a shared internal world.
Exactly.
But creepier.
Way creepier. And the screenplay actually dives into this shared consciousness with some pretty impactful scenes.
Interesting.
That didn't make it into the final film.
Really?
One that stood out to me was Sue applying for Elizabeth's old job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the movie, she just like breezes past security.
Right.
Like with her youthful charm.
Just totally charming her way in. But the screenplay reveals something much deeper.
Oh, really?
She's initially denied entry, but then she taps into a residual memory of Elizabeth interacting with the guard.
Okay.
Using specific details to convince him she belongs there.
So it's like Elizabeth is almost like living through Sue.
Yes.
Guiding her actions, even when she's not physically present.
Exactly.
That is both fascinating and a little disturbing.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
I totally agree. It really blurs the lines of identity.
Yeah.
And raises questions about free will.
Totally. Like, if they're sharing a consciousness, is Sue truly making her own choices?
Right.
Or is she just an extension of Elizabeth's desires?
Exactly. It's like that age-old question. Are we products of our experiences?
Right.
Or do we have the power to forge our own paths?
And in this case, it's even more complicated.
Oh, for sure.
Because their experiences are literally intertwined.
They're totally interwoven.
So let's talk about Elizabeth's character.
Okay.
And her motivations for a sec.
Yeah.
She's a fading star, terrified of becoming irrelevant.
Right.
Of being replaced by the next young thing.
It's a real fear.
Yeah. I feel like that resonates with a lot of people.
It does.
Especially in a society obsessed with youth and beauty.
Definitely.
I mean, who hasn't, like, scrolled through Instagram and just felt a twinge of envy? Or, like, looked in the mirror and been like, ugh, I wish I could turn back time a little bit.
Yeah, we've all been there.
But for Elizabeth, it's not just vanity.
No.
It's her livelihood.
Right.
Her sense of self-worth.
It's everything.
And the screenplay really captures this internal struggle.
Oh, it does. There's a scene where Elizabeth is getting ready for a date with an old classmate.
Oh.
She's trying to recapture her youthful glow, fussing with makeup, obsessing over her appearance.
I can picture it.
But then she sees Sue, radiant and carefree.
Oh, no.
And it triggers a complete breakdown.
Ooh. Talk about a reality check.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's seeing her own mortality reflected back at her, and it sends her spiraling.
And that's where the substance comes in.
Right.
Offering her a way to kind of cheat the system to cling to that fading image of youth and relevance.
Oh, it's not just about physical transformation.
It's just not. It's about reclaiming a feeling.
Okay.
A sense of significance.
Yeah.
Elizabeth wants to be admired.
Right.
To have that power she once held. And by creating Sue, she's essentially trying to recapture her lost youth.
Okay.
And the status that came with it.
So then we have this shifting dynamic between Elizabeth and Sue.
Right.
As Sue embraces her newfound youth and starts to thrive.
Yes.
Elizabeth fades further into the background.
Fades away.
And remember, they're both acutely aware of this because of their shared consciousness.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
You have this internal power struggle playing out against the backdrop of Hollywood's cutthroat environment.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
And the screenplay uses their physical transformations to mirror this inner conflict.
Interesting. How so?
So as Sue grows more confident and vibrant, Elizabeth's body starts to deteriorate, reflecting her diminishing status.
Oh, wow. So it's like they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
But the balance is constantly shifting.
Yeah.
Tipping precariously as one gains what the other loses.
Totally.
And this tension, this battle for significance, is at the heart of what makes the substance such a compelling and unsettling story.
It is.
Yeah.
But to really understand the full scope of this conflict, we need to explore what emerges from it.
Okay.
Something far more terrifying than either Elizabeth or Sue could have imagined.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
We're talking about Monstro Elisa Sue.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of her. What is that?
This grotesque fusion of their anxieties and desires.
Whoa, okay.
Now, that's where Farjate's commentary on societal pressures and the pursuit of an idealized self takes a truly horrific turn.
Okay, so we're going to need more time to unpack that.
Definitely. We'll dive into that monstrous revelation in our next segment.
I can't wait.
So we've been talking about Elizabeth and Sue and their struggles as individuals.
Right.
But what happens when those anxieties, those desires, literally merge into one being?
That's a good question.
That's where Monstro Elisa Sue comes in.
Okay, so she's not just some random monster thrown in for shock value.
No, not at all.
This creature is born from their shared consciousness.
Exactly.
Their intertwined anxieties and desires.
It's like their internal battle for significance taken on a physical form.
But like a really grotesque physical form.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so interesting how Farjate uses body horror to comment on societal expectations.
I see that.
Like we see Elizabeth's initial transformation with the substance.
Right.
It's seductive, it's alluring. But as the conflict with Sue escalates, her body becomes increasingly grotesque.
That's true.
It reflects the ugliness of their obsession with youth and beauty.
It's like that saying, beauty is only skin deep.
Right.
But in this case, that skin deep beauty becomes monstrous.
Literally. Yeah, it's a really stark contrast to that glamorous image they were both chasing.
Totally. And Monstro Elisa Sue takes it to the extreme.
Oh, she does.
She's this chaotic fusion of flesh-bone distorted features.
It's disturbing, for sure.
It really is. It's like a visual representation of the damage they've inflicted on themselves and each other.
On each other and themselves.
Both physically and psychologically.
A cautionary tale.
It is like a cautionary tale about buying into societal pressures.
Yeah.
Striving for that unattainable ideal of beauty and youth.
Exactly.
What do you think the deeper message is there?
I think it's multi-layered.
Okay.
On one hand, it's a critique of the entertainment industry.
Makes sense.
And its obsession with youth and beauty.
Right.
How women are often valued more for their appearance than their talent or experience.
Which is something that resonates far beyond Hollywood, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, think about social media, the constant pressure to present a perfect image.
Oh, yeah?
The filters, the carefully curated feeds.
It's like we're all participating in this performance of youth and beauty.
And the substance takes that performance.
It does.
To its horrifying conclusion.
Yeah.
With Monstro Elisa Sue.
Exactly.
It's like she's saying, look what happens when we try to mold ourselves into these impossible ideals.
We lose ourselves.
Right. And she becomes a spectacle.
A
monstrous embodiment of their shared anxieties.
And there's that incredible scene where Monstro Elisa Sue appears on a New Year's Eve show.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be Sue's big moment.
Her time to shine.
Exactly. But instead, it turns into this horrifying spectacle.
And it's significant that she doesn't try to hide her monstrous form.
No, she doesn't.
She steps onto that stage fully exposed, embracing the grotesque reality of what she's become.
It's a defiant act.
Right.
A rejection of that illusion of perfection.
Totally.
That she and Elizabeth were both chasing.
But it's also heartbreaking, right?
It is.
Because in that moment of defiance, she also becomes completely alienated from the world.
Completely.
The audience, the producers. Everyone reacts with horror and disgust.
It's like she's become the embodiment of their deepest fears.
It's powerful commentary.
It is.
On the fragility of status and the price of conformity.
For sure.
Elizabeth and Sue spent so much energy trying to fit into a mold.
Yeah.
Trying to achieve a certain image. of success.
But in the end, it's their individuality, their monstrosity
Right.
that truly sets them free.
But at a cost.
Even if it comes at the cost of everything they thought they wanted.
So we have this creature, Monstro Lisa Sue,
Right.
who is both a product of societal pressures and a rebellion against those very pressures.
It's complex.
It's disturbing.
It makes you think.
It really does make you think about the different ways we try to conform or defy expectations.
And it raises the question,
What's that?
what happens when those different versions of ourselves, so the past, the present, the future, can't coexist peacefully?
Deep.
Is there a way to embrace our complexities? Yeah.
Without succumbing to those darker impulses.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
The substance takes that struggle and amplifies it.
Yeah.
Turns it into this grotesque and captivating spectacle.
But I think what makes this film so compelling is that beneath the horror lies a very human story.
Absolutely. It's a story about identity, ambition, the fear of aging, and the desperate need for connection.
Really relatable themes.
It's about the lengths we'll go to feel relevant, loved, seen.
Right.
And I think that's something we can all relate to on some level.
I agree. And in our next segment, we'll delve deeper into those themes.
Yes.
Exploring how the substance connects to our own anxieties about aging, the pressure to achieve, and the constant struggle for significance in a world that often feels superficial and fleeting. You know, it's funny.
What's that?
We talk about the substance as this horrific, grotesque thing, but isn't there another kind of substance we're all chasing in a way?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that feeling of meaning.
Of purpose.
Yeah.
Of having something to offer the world.
I think so. And I think the substance really is kind of a cautionary tale about what happens when we seek that substance in all the wrong places.
Yeah, like Elizabeth, at the start, she had it all.
She did.
Fame, recognition, you name it.
Everything.
But it wasn't enough.
It wasn't, because true substance can't be found in those external things.
Yeah.
You know, validation, fame, beauty. It's got to come from somewhere deeper.
And the film really highlights how that pursuit of external validation can become an addiction. Especially when it's tied to something as fragile as youth or beauty.
Exactly. It's like a drug.
Oh, yeah.
You get a taste of that attention, that power, and you just crave more.
Totally.
And the more you chase it,
the
further you stray from who you truly are.
Oh, that's so true.
Both Elizabeth and Sue get caught in that trap.
Yeah, in their own ways.
Each in their own way.
It's almost like they're both playing a role, performing for this audience that ultimately doesn't care about them as individuals.
That's a good point.
They become commodities.
Right.
Valued for their youth and beauty rather than their inherent worth.
And that's where Fargate's critique of the entertainment industry and society as a whole really hits home.
It does, because we're all bombarded with these messages about what we should look like.
How we should behave, what we need to achieve in order to be deemed successful or worthy.
And social media just takes that to a whole new level.
Oh, exactly.
It's like we're constantly comparing ourselves to these curated versions of other people's lives.
Right.
Feeling inadequate if we don't measure up.
Totally. And the irony is...
What's that?
We're all playing the same game.
Right.
Putting on a show for an audience that's likely doing the same thing.
So it's this vicious cycle of striving.
And seeking validation.
From a system that ultimately devalues us.
Yeah, so the question becomes, how do we break free? How do we find that true sense of substance and worth?
In a world that often feels so superficial and fleeting.
It's a tough question.
It is.
And I don't think the substance offers any easy answers.
That's true.
But it suggests that it starts with recognizing our own inherent worth.
Okay.
Embracing our complexities.
Yeah.
Both the light and the shatter.
Well said.
It's about finding fulfillment in the journey. In the messy, unpredictable beauty of life itself, rather than chasing those fleeting moments of external validation.
I love that. It's about connecting with something deeper.
Exactly.
Something more meaningful than likes or followers.
Right.
Or a fleeting moment in the spotlight.
So ultimately, the substance is more than just a horror film.
It is.
It's a mirror reflecting our own anxiety.
About aging, our obsession with appearances.
And our relentless pursuit of significance.
It really is. It's a film that stays with you.
Yeah.
Makes you question the things you're chasing.
It challenges us to look beyond the surface.
And find that true substance within ourselves.
Well, folks, there you have it.
A deep dive into a film.
As thought-provoking.
As it is disturbing.
It's a wild ride.
But one that might just leave you questioning what truly matters.
in this crazy, beautiful,
messy thing we call life.
Next time on The Deep Dive.
Ooh, what are we talking about?
We're going to be exploring the world of lucid dreaming.
Okay.
And the incredible potential of the human mind.
So join us as we venture into the realm of dreams,
where reality bends and the impossible becomes possible.
It's going to be a mind-blowing exploration you won't want to miss.